All right, good morning and welcome to the Balanced Life podcast. Today we're continuing on a series that I started last week, The Power of Applied Knowledge. But today I'm going to talk about a bit more on how to effectively find an answer. But before we get into that, I want to talk about how to use what you know. Last time I was talking about the power of applied knowledge and about how knowledge is not really valued. So how to use what you know. You don't need to learn more. You need to apply, evaluate, and research deeper. Think about what you're trying to do. Let me give an example here, and this is why it's going to be relevant to researching. What happens with many of us is we get a big idea and we get excited about the big idea, and we run down rabbit holes. So if you are thinking about landscaping, that is a huge topic. You know, it's springtime. Right now, it's actually winter. It's December, obviously. And here in the U.S., especially in the northern part of America, it's cold. Nobody's really landscaping. You might be putting out Christmas lights or something. But as you move into spring and people get excited about landscaping, this is a huge topic. But how to plan landscaping or how to plant a tree so that it survives is a different topic than landscaping itself. What happens is in our business, we look at a very broad topic and we run down all these different little paths and start discovering things we didn't know already. And we get distracted and we get lost in what we're trying to do. And we come up with even more ideas and we end up doing absolutely nothing. So you need to think about what specifically you're trying to accomplish, what task you're trying to do. I've spent the morning today, I'm so frustrated. I spent the whole morning trying to figure out how to get something to work on my Shopify store. So if you go to learningresources.online, you'll see my Shopify store. And hopefully by the time you hear this podcast, I will have figured out how to put those really nifty pop-ups that come up and offer a discount if you sign up for the newsletter and for updates, because I'm trying to do that as part of my store. Obviously, it's a way to get people connected. But for me, as a customer, I often will visit a store for a specific reason, but may not be prepared to buy yet. So like extending this landscaping scenario, it's December and I may be on a website that sells trees or flowers or shrubs. And I'm thinking about what I would like to do in the spring. So I sign up to be on their update list so I can read their articles during the winter, so I can watch for specials. And then as I get closer to planning to buy, I now know which place I want to go to. I've been watching what kind of products they have. I've used that to plan out what I want to get, and then I buy stuff. And it's just purely coincidental that this feeds into what I was doing today. I guess I'm trying to make lemonade out of the lemons that was my mornings. I'm sure those of you who are parents or business owners can completely relate to this kind of thing. I am sorry, my mouth is very dry. I try not to drink when I'm doing my podcast, but I was about to start coughing. So, how to effectively find an answer. First, the issue we find on a lot of platforms like YouTube or other kind of video places is that the content creator is rewarded based on how long they can keep someone listening. That provides a disincentive to provide accurate, concise, quick information. And in fact, people want to be so entertained as they get knowledge, as they get information, that they have come to demand this. If you don't have some kind of a teaser promising something interesting with a really funny intro, you're less likely to watch it. So you've really done it to yourself. But the end result is our time is consistently wasted. And people such as myself who try to provide very clear, accurate, step-by-step information that's helpful and not dragging you along are punished because we don't have all the frills and the fun. However, if you start to use resources that do give you quick, meaningful, accurate information. And then you find a place to store that information, whether you have a notebook or something on your mobile device, your computer. I like to use actual paper and pencil because you've heard me talk about the hand-brain connection. You'll see in my resources, if you happen to go over to my Shopify page or my sales page with my bookstore, you'll see that I have like a study resource for students that's made up of, I want to say it's almost 400 pages. I know it's close to 400 pages because it's really expensive to print. I only make like $3 or $4 off of each one I sell, like total $3 or $4, because I wanted to keep the price as low as I could so people would use it, but it's voluminous. But if you create a place where you can have well-organized information that you can find quickly, so creating your own index or table of contents and then storing the information and writing down in bullet point form or whatever, like a recipe book type of thing, you can access the information much more readily. You create your own knowledge resources and your time is not wasted by 5 minutes of dragging you along or blogs that give you a recipe 2 pages down after, a 20-minute story about walking through the woods of southern Italy 60 years ago or whatever. So the next thing to do is when you're trying to find answers, after you have found a reliable resource, understanding that people are dragging you along because that's what they're incentivized to do. So when you can find somebody who gives you like good, clean information quickly, stick with them. You create your own knowledge resources. Then you write things down and you practice them. You implement them. You bring action. Then you let others know. Because if you're promoting and encouraging people who are giving you the answers without stringing you along, they need your support because the algorithms are not going to support them. But the most critical thing when you're searching for the answer to something is asking the right questions. You need to know how to frame the question in a way that will bring you the answer you're trying to find. I was trying to think of an example earlier because I was searching for something online and the way I said it brought up a bunch of really ridiculous stuff. And now I can't remember. It wasn't vulgar. It wasn't like amusing in that way, but it was more a matter of some of the keywords that I used were bringing up sources that were not particularly helpful. So you need to find effective answers, but you need to look for stuff in a way that you're going to apply. Don't look for broad topics. If you're in your life, don't look up how to parent a toddler. Look for a specific issue with trusted resources, with belief systems that support you. Recognize that there tends to be a bias one way or another where you're looking. So like for me, I am a Christian and I apologize, my voice is going. I am a Christian and my Christian worldview is the filter, the lens through which I search everything. So if I'm looking at information on finances, I may not necessarily put in Christian financial resources because some of the top people out there in the Christian sphere, I have some really major issues with the way they set up their systems and the way they run their business. So I don't want to be tied to them. But I also realize I don't want to go for some of the things that go against the beliefs that I have. So I may need to figure out a way to filter out some of that junk, if you will. If you're looking at like ways to parent, if you're looking at organizations to support, if you're looking at business principles, you need to be very clear in what you're trying to find, what your parameters are, and anybody who is going to be fluffy and fill up a bunch of time is not worth your time. So I've talked about Darren Hardy a lot. I don't have an endorsement relationship. I don't get any money from endorsing him. I just have found that he is somebody who will give you a 4-minute answer in 3.5 minutes, not in 12. I have stopped following some of my favorite YouTube people that had some really good information because they take a 3-minute answer and turn it into 16 minutes because they're trying to work to the algorithm. So the way to find an effective answer is being very clear and very specific because there's so much information out there. You can't give broad generalities. If you don't know what you're looking for, like if you're just trying to put in plant trees, and continuing with my example, once you start to see a little bit of information, then refine it down further. Don't spend a ton of time finding about all the ins and outs of planting different kinds of trees. Like, I would start planting trees in, I don't remember what zone I live in. Let's say, you know how the U.S. is broken up into zones based on what kind of plants can grow there. So let's say I live in zone 5. I have no idea what it is, but let's just say planting trees in zone 5 in the Great Lakes region because I live near Lake Erie. So putting that in will help me to not find out about trees in Arizona, which is irrelevant. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay. So I hope you got something out of this. I hope that you will start to create your own resources for various topics and information, whether it's parenting, whether it's health, whether it's growing your business, planting a tree, or anything in between. Give yourself some credit for what you're doing right. Recognize where you're growing. And remember, we all fail sometimes. Just try to fail forward. I will see you on the next podcast. Bye.